And the young man went away very, very sad. I would like to know what the sad fellow was thinking as he walked away from Jesus, what he was saying to himself. You know, Jesus often does this to us. He gives us a story, then he leaves us hanging. What about the older son in the parable of the prodigal son? The older son who was working out in the fields. Did he ever make up with his father? I want to know that. No, Jesus leaves us hanging. Did the older son eventually go into the banquet to celebrate the fact that his younger brother has been found? No, Jesus just, kind of leaves us hanging. What about the 10 lepers? One was saved and the other 9, what happened to them? I'd like to know what happened to them. Kind of curious. Didn't hear anything about them anymore. Jesus just leaves us hanging. What about the man who was so terribly poor and he was sitting at the doorway of Lazarus, a very, very rich man? What happened to that poor guy? Did anybody come along and help him out? Take him in for a meal or give him some money? No, Jesus just leaves us hanging. But let's for a moment now, with our imagination, let's put a few words into the heart, the mind, the mouth of this sad man who walked away from Jesus. He muttered as he walked away, let us presume, oh, I know it. Another bleeding heart, sunshine and lollipops, do-gooder. Sell what you have and give it all to the poor. Sure, easy for him to say, he has nothing. Easy to suggest giving away other people's money. It's always the same spiel, isn't it? And then he continues, and even if I did, would it really matter? Would there be a big difference? If I sell everything and I maybe make 1 or 2 people happy, maybe lift up their poverty for a while, but nothing changes, nothing changes. Oh, sure, treasure in the next life. That's one thing. But what about this life? What about this life? Jesus, you don't have a business or a mortgage or students. You don't have children. You don't have loans to pay off. How can I just walk away from all these responsibilities? The kids want to go to the best universities, Do you know what the tuition of the University of Jerusalem is? It's $75,000 a year. And all the kids want to go there. 3 daughters, they all want to go there. And where do you think my daughters shop? Do you think they shop at Ross's? Oh, no. They don't shop at Ross's. They're a little more trendy. They want Nordstrom. They want Saks Fifth Avenue. They want Neiman Marcus. You don't get it, Jesus. You don't get it. As a sad man walked away. Are you telling me that being poor is better than rich? Oh, no, it isn't. Trust me. Who pays the taxes to support programs for the poor? Who pays workers so they can feed families? Who supports the temple and the schools and the academies? You just don't get it, Jesus. Sell what you have and give to the poor? Sorry. Just another one of those traveling religious medicine men. Oh, this Jesus talks great. But that's not the way life is it? Hey, Jesus, you just don't get it. Or is it that the young man who walked away very sad doesn't get it? Listen carefully to what Jesus says. It is similar to what he said a couple of weeks ago in the gospel about trying to get into heaven. Jesus doesn't condemn wealth. No place in the scriptures does he do that. Jesus doesn't condemn possessions. Nowhere in the scriptures. does he say that it's all evil. What is evil? Is when the pursuit of wealth and riches displaces God. Remember that a couple of weeks ago? When our riches and our blessings and our wealth are the center of our lives. When material wealth becomes our only focus of our existence, that what we own owns us. Believe me, my brothers and sisters, 60 years of priesthood, I've stood next to many a bed of a dying person who has found it very, very difficult to leave this world because of what they own. The rich young man in today's gospel is one of the most pitiable of the Jesus story. But clearly, Jesus' teachings must have touched him, assuring him that, sure, he kept the "you shall nots," but then Jesus shares with him the "you shalls" of the reign of God. Jesus doesn't want him or anyone else to give away everything, but to share our blessings and not let the God of wealth overpower each and every one of us. Yeah, we never hear what happened to that young man. We never found out what he did. It's sad. We tend to assume that he was attached to his belongings and couldn't give them away, and he chose those over following Jesus. Given the choice between the life of God and the life of materialism, the young man opted for the latter. But I like to think, and I hope you're thinking also, I like to think that dismisses this sad man too easily. If the Gospels teach us nothing else, it is this: an encounter with Christ changes people. The blind see, the paralyzed walk, Nicodemus is converted, Peter falls on his knees, the Roman centurion becomes a man of faith. Maybe, just maybe, the sad man was touched by the encounter with Christ. Those of you who are of my age, maybe a little younger, remember Harry Reasoner, an American broadcast journalist who died in 1991. On Christmas Eve one year, he said and talked about those people, those Christians who go to church just once a year. Quote, "So if a Christian is touched only once a year, the touching is still worth it. And maybe, just maybe, on some given Christmas, some quiet morning, the touch will take." May we possess the faith to center our lives on the things of God, to embrace the wisdom and prudence of the first reading. But the means for living lives of meaning and purpose and creating our world in the justice and peace of God, we have to share. I like to think, perhaps you will think likewise, that Mark and Jesus so often, especially stories like today's gospel, so often leave the story open-ended as a way of telling you and me that our lives are also open-ended. We all have choices. What will we choose?